بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق وخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره وقدر العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. الحمد لله رب العالمين. أفضل الصلاة وتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ورضي الله تعالى عن هذا السادة التابعين علماء عاملين وأئمة أربعين مجتهدين مقلديهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Welcome to another of the Soullutionz podcast. I am one of your hosts, Imam Muhammad Abdullah Ameen, along with Amir Khalil Abdullahi and brother Saleh Abdul Mujeeb. Tonight's discussion topic is on why we can't get along. And this topic was actually a freestyle topic. I mean, related to many of the conversations that we've had over the week, over the last few weeks. One thing that's more important, though, I mean, that I do have to address is how our people as a whole, I'm talking about the Americans that are descendants of the African diaspora, quote unquote African Americans or Black Americans or New Africans or whatever you may want to identify yourself as, more of this Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, not referring to Moorish Americans, but more in reference to nationality, whatever you want to identify yourself as. That our people, we tend to not have a real desire to actually want to learn and implement and practice what we learn. And so we pretty much like go with whatever it is that's popular. I mean, we go to the bookstore. We don't even do any research about the books that we're getting. We just grab a book. It has a nice little topic on it, nice little name of the book. It got glossy covers, it got gold writing, gold embroidery all over the book. We grab it and we read the book, and it got deviance in it. All right, it got deviance in it, deviant belief, deviant explanation. The source and the meat of it be fine. It's straight. It may be the Quran, maybe Hadith is straight, but the explanation that is given for the Quran and the Hadith, straight deviance, straight blasphemy. I mean, not kufr, not associating the part, not shirk, but blasphemy. I mean, stuff that leads you to kufr, right? So I put up just a short video yesterday. Right, I put up a short video yesterday, and the video is talking about the hadith that mentions tahajjud, right? The same hadith that's in Bukhari that mentions tahajjud, and Allah Ta'ala comes down loosely translated, Allah descends to the last in the last third of the night to the lower heavens, right? The same hadith is in Sahih Muslim. Right, the same hadith is in Sahih Muslim. You know what I mean? But it just doesn't mention tahajjud. But Imam Nawawi explicitly explains this hadith in his Shahr Sahih Muslim. Now, if anyone has seen has read the Shahr Sahih Muslim, it's volumes upon it's volumes. It's not just 8-9 volumes. It's many volumes in that, right? And that what he explains on the hadith of Nuzul is that is the hadith that's in the Muwatta as well, narrated from Yahya bin Yahya on the authority of Malik of Imam Malik ibn Anas, rahmatullahi, from Ibn Shihab, one of his teachers, from Abdullah Akhgari, from Abu Sulaiman ibn Abdurrahman, who narrated from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. So the chain is from Yahya bin Yahya to Imam Malik, all the way to Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, right? In the hadith, in the hadith, he said Rasul Qawluhu Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Well, first kalamatul fi ahadithi sifat. This is the hadith that's mentioning the sifat Allah, an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Any attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah ta'ala was attributed with them attributes before he created anything, when he was just him who existed and nothing else existed besides him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala possessed these attributes, right? And he said, Qawluhu sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, yanzilu Rabbana kulla laylatil illa fi qawli من يدعوني فاستجيبي له. هذا حديث من الأحاديث صفات وفيه مذهبا مشهورنا للعلماء وسبق أيضا حاهما في كتاب الإيمان, right? So you know what I'm saying? This is the book. This is in the book of it's in Sahih Muslim, the book of prayer of the traveler and shortening it. The chapter on the encouragement to make dua, dhikr, in the last part of the night, and the answer to it, right? So I'm for the sake of the audience who don't understand Arabic, I'm just going to continue to read the English. Our Lord the Prophet ﷺ said, our Lord yanzilu to the Lord's heaven every night when the last every night when the last third of the night is left. Then he says, who is calling upon me so that I may answer him? Who is asking me so that I may give him? Who is asking me for forgiveness so I may forgive him? Now, the way that what Imam Nawawi explains about this hadith, the words on the hadith of Allah's attributes regarding his words, our Lord yanzilu to the heavens to the heavens every night. Then he says, who is calling upon me so that I may answer him? This hadith is from the hadith of the divine attributes. So when you're talking about yanzilu, this does not mean that Allah Ta'ala changes from one place to another. This does not mean that Allah Ta'ala has movement. This does not mean that Allah Ta'ala is one size, then he goes to the next heaven, he's another size, and he goes all the way down to the heavens to where he's smaller, because there's a hadith where the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said that the seventh heaven is so big that the sixth heaven up under is like a drop in the sand. So you mean to tell me you gonna attribute Allah Ta'ala with movement, and you say that Allah Ta'ala shrinks? A'udhu billah. So that means you ascribe Allah Ta'ala to be a body, to be a jism, right? To be in a place, in a direction. This is not how this hadith is understood. I'm gonna continue. And there are two well-known positions in regards to this hadith, right? It's like 40 something comments on my post, and it's ridiculous how people ignore the fact that they cannot just say I don't know or I do not understand, right? Trying to think that this is my understanding. It's not my understanding. right? This is not my understanding at all. I understand it, but this is not my understanding. This is not what I'm transmitting. This is what has been passed down from generation to generation to our time, right? Anyone who goes against this meaning, then their understanding is not the understanding of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. It's not. It's some other religion. It's some other religion. And Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah follow the religion that is established and that is established and ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger, and not somebody else's other religion that came about 250 years ago. 250 years ago, hijacking the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and spreading this deviance to our people. The best way to misguide the people is to give them misinformation. Right? It's two well-known positions among the scholars, among the ulama, right? Regarding it, he said, I clarify the position of these two schools in the book of Kitabul Iman, right? The summary of them, the two positions is as follows. The first of them is the school, the madhab of the majority of the Salaf, the first three generations of this ummah, and some of the scholars of the mutakallimin of the Khalif, which is to believe in it as true according to what befits Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this translating yanzilu as descends is not befitting of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not befitting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not have movement. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in a place or direction. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not everywhere. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a body. All right? Which is to believe in it according to what befits Allah, and that the outward literal apparent meaning is not what is intended. I don't care what Sheikh Uthaymeen says in his explanation in Majmu' Fatawa. I don't care. I don't care who disagree with me. I don't care who disagree with me. I don't care what he says. That's a deviant teaching that they teaching in the University of Medina. A deviant teaching. Bottom line. And they do not give a figurative interpretation, ta'wil to it, while at the same time believing that Allah Ta'ala is transcendent above the attributes of creation. So if you're gonna say Laysa kamithlihi shay'un, you don't ascribe a kayfiyah to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. If you're gonna confirm that nothing that Allah Ta'ala is not like any of his creation, no resemblance to his creation, or type of likeness to his creation, and he is attributed with hearing and seeing, you're not gonna give a kayfiyah. You're not gonna say we don't know how, because there is no how for Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Anything that has a how is a creation. Everything that has a how is a creation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said yet. He didn't say hand. In the fiqh, the explanation of hand is either from the fingertips to the fingertips to the elbow, or from the fingertips to the fingertips to the shoulder. You saying this is what Allah Ta'ala has, a limb? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is transcendent above any likeness to his creation. He does not have a hand, face, shin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say any of them things in his book, in his uncreated speech. and that he is clear of transferring from one location to another. He is clear, and all of the and he doesn't have any movement, and all the other attributes and characteristics of created things. Why we can't get along? Because we cannot understand that there's a correct position and there's an incorrect position, right? The second thing that's most important after having the correct belief about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is brotherhood. If we don't have brotherhood, we don't have the proper manners with each other, then we're gonna resort to making takfir against each other. The Prophet ﷺ said that my ummah will not agree on misguidance. My ummah will not agree on error. So we never gonna agree. The only thing that we could do, if you're sincere, make dua for me. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide me to what is correct. I'll make dua for you that Allah ta'ala guides you to what is correct. But I'm never going to follow the religion of individuals who innovated the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to teach it. I'm not going to teach it to my children. I remember when my companion's children was going to a Quran class, right? The Imam of MCC was teaching the class. Instead of teaching them Quran, he's going to ask them, where is Allah? He's going to ask them, where is Allah? I wanted to go beat this man up. I wanted to go beat this man up for teaching this deviant stuff to my nieces and nephews. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in the where. I told them, when you go back, tell him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists. He exists without a place. He existed when nothing else existed besides him. If he rejects that, then explain to him. My uncle said, only teach us Quran. Don't teach us your aqidah, because that's not the aqidah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tell them just like that. What they do, they did exactly what I told them to do. And when I seen him at MCC, I had a conversation with him. I drove taxi at the time, so I was gonna see him because I prayed at MCC all the time. I just didn't pray behind him, but I prayed at MCC all the time. I don't pray behind deviants. I don't pray behind deviants. You believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has limbs? I never pray behind you. You believe Allah ta'ala is in a place or direction? I never pray behind you. For me, my salat is invalid behind you.
Uh-oh.
That's for me. My salat is invalid behind you. If I pray behind you, I broke my wudu. And that don't break your wudu.
Can we all just get along? No, but no, what you're saying is a real issue that is that plagues the community. Firstly, assalamu alaikum everybody that's on, Sheikh Muhammad, everybody. It is a real issue. It's one of the dividing factors of the community. And it really wouldn't. Now the only thing I say is about the whole issue is I think we've got to get I say it all the time, you gotta start developing like enclaves, like little groups, and it begins to be taught, because that's how when you read Islamic history after it was established by the Prophet Sallallahu and the Khulafa, there were certain regions that you would go to learn. There were certain pockets, and we were more networked together. The lack of network together, where you can say, hey, this person, they teach this type of, belief. Avoid them. Kind of, sort of like the early '90s, how the Salafis had a vice grip on the community because they took the model of what I'm talking about, and they were snatching members of the community and things of that nature, and so the word just started spreading, and so people started to you know avoid going around people who are like, hey, we heard that this would happen, because if that didn't happen, we did have uh, a lot of different variations and versions of Islam that was plaguing the community. You know, the biggest, one of the biggest ones at the time was the NOI. You know, that was like the biggest, at the time, the biggest. Now, because of because of that, then the other communities developed, and they still share some of the beliefs of the NOI when it came to the belief in the Akhirah. They didn't believe in it. They would make mockery. Hereafter, what do we hereafter? Yada yada yada. So those type of things. Oh, there goes Saleh. Come on and join us, brother. Those type of ideologies, were plaguing the community at the time.
Assalamu
So,
alaikum.
wa alaikum salam to the barakatuh.
Wa
So
alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
the ignorance did open up that door. Even now you still see a lot of reminiscences of it. Like most of the Muslims, when it comes to our dietary, most of us are still NOI at heart, because NOI believe that basically you don't eat pork. You eat beef and chicken, and this is true. But the practice that we practice is a bit embellished because we have to eat halal, right? So, we've never crossed that bridge. You know what I'm saying? We never actually crossed over that bridge. Now, some people did do that, communities, you know, uh, did push this. And then, with the onset of the 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 movements come afterwards to tell you, okay, it's okay to eat, non-Muslims meat. They don't slaughter. It's okay to eat the supermarket meat and things of that nature. It's all right to do it. Just say Bismillah over it. So then you transform from the dietary rules of the NOI, and then you went back to church on them, because all you gotta do is bless it now before you eat it. God
They ate one meal a day though. They ate one meal a day.
Yeah, no, it's not just that, but we just talking about just eating, in general, why people are eating supermarket meat. That's not halal. We never transformed, we never grew in that era, right? Everything that we started to do, there was always another movement that countered that, right? When people were praying more in the masajid, the counter movement was, well, it's only sunnah. You ain't got to be in a masjid. The whole earth is a masjid. So, people started detaching themselves. And so then if you go back and you do like a demographic, if you were to do a demographic study, if you look at it now, many of the masajids are really still the old vanguard. The youth are kind of like practicing Islam on their own. They're not really practicing. The youth aren't as active as they once were in the masjid. They're more outward with their Islam and claiming Islam, but it's almost like it's the way they're claiming it, but then the practice is very minimal. The practice is very minimal. Then you have the leadership. You don't have to change leadership because the constituency is getting younger, right? Islam isn't built on democracy where you vote out your imam every 4 years. This became like a new trend as well, and it's causing chaos. And that's one of the reasons why we can't get along. You think about it, in about 2 weeks or so, we're going to do our annual beef. Now, most people think like, we're too sophisticated to have this type of beef, But there's a thing called truth and there's a thing called falsehood, right? And so then most people are saying, hey, we can just we don't have to worry about this, that, and the third. But most of the people that are saying it, they're not practicing either one. The people who argue on behalf of doing a local moon sign, they ain't even looking for the moon. And the people who saying we can just do, whoever sees it first, they're not even looking for the moon. Both of them are comfortably sitting on their couch or their chair at work or whatever the case is, and they're arguing about it. We need to live in Islam. We need to move forward from the preacher style, where everybody gets together on a certain day and we preach with this large congregation and nothing comes out of it. You know what I mean? So, a lot of that, the lack of I don't know if I want to call it unification. The lack of cohesion of us having the ability to work together as a unit, you have to shut things out. So if you look at American history, right, before they were established around the 13 colonies, right, you had a man by the name of John Monroe, all right, later on became what was known as the Monroe Doctrine. And this is something that I believe that the Black American Muslims need to do, but we're kind of like in the back seat. We're not driving the bus; we're in the back seat of the bus, right? We're being influenced by other entities, and we build our communities based on that. Do you notice the most argumentative Muslims are those who studied Islam, in some more of the Arab lands than they are versus West African or Pakistan. They're more argumentative from those places, and then what happens is some of us, we can't separate some of the cultural indoctrination, right? Like cultural indoctrination is where you're arguing about whether a thobe is an Islamic attire or not. Why is that? Because we know from our tradition, where we get our lifestyle, we build our culture centered around is the hadiths and the Quran. When you open up Sahih Bukhari, no matter how much you like to make mockery of people who wear their pants above their ankles. You open up Bukhari, you open up Muslim, and the Muwatta gives a more detailed explanation, right, of where a man's clothing should be at. His pants legs. It starts from the ankle and it should go no higher than the middle of the calf. This is what Imam Malik explains in the Muwatta. The hadiths, and they fall under the category of the chapter on libas. So now what I say is like cultural influence. Most people will blame the hadith of being the cultural injection. It's not. It's the fact that you're arguing against the hadith, because the revelation is what we build our community and society based on, not the rejection of the revelation. We don't see it as a rejection, though. We don't see that as a rejection. We think that we're developing, or we have some sort of understanding, or we need a new type of revelation for a new people in a distant land. We figure that is better, right? How many instances that you have where you got sisters where they go to the market, right? I don't have a problem with women going to the market, but Islamically, at minimum, our women are supposed to have a mahram with them, right? Someone of a male figure of chaperoning her in the market, right? Why? Because people have a tendency of flirting with women, right? Have a tendency of being disrespectful, right? And things of this nature. We look at that as ancient, as backwards, right? How many times you see a fist fight in Walmart? And usually, who's the individuals involved in that fist fight?
Women.
You see what I'm saying? Two women, right?
Two women.
But to somebody to defuse that, right? There should have been somebody there to defuse it, because a lot of times the things that we fight over, it really ain't worth risking our life. You're about one argument over a can of pork and beans, away from being dead. You know what I mean? Remember when during the height of COVID, people were out there acting a monkey. Dudes was ready to kill each other over toilet paper. Right? So, these type of things. But we'll argue and say, hey, we ain't got time for that old stuff. This is really where it's at. So what we do, we take this lifestyle that we already used to, and we'll claim it, as almost as if it's divine. It's something that's divine, and we can't let it go. The way that we should be about our Islam, we're like that about our, pre-Islamic practices. We don't want to let it go, right? People are live and die, almost to the point where people created an Islam in this country that resembled, the Ameen Zion Baptist Church. They had the organs and everything playing, right? So, and then so what happens is that kind of stuff opens up the door for the extremists to put on the clothes of the traditionalists, and then they start teaching you in these deviant aqidas and things of that nature, opening that door. And then when they want to pull the people back, the only thing they do is they put a label on it. We're going to teach black people what black people need to know. And then here you go, you got a whole nother deviant movement, right? We have to see living societies, right? You can say what you want, take what you want from it, but in the height of Islam, when you had East Orange, New Jersey, right? They built a community. They didn't just build a masjid. They built a community. Down in Georgia, in Atlanta, with Imam Jamil, right? They built a community. They didn't just build a masjid. Now we just want to build a masjid. I don't even think masjids are even important no more, because now everybody's on, on social media. So really, you're going to
Khalil, let's even go nowhere, man. I don't think you went to Glen Rose. Glen Rose is a community.
Mm-hmm.
They have an apartment complex with a masjid inside the apartment complex with Islamic schooling and all these other things. So yeah, building communities is very important. But you mind if I piggyback off you real fast?
No, right. Do you think? Yeah.
All right. One of the reasons to piggyback off of everybody that we can't come together, one is that we don't have a common goal outside of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, right? And what do I mean by that? That we have to start caring about the community where we're from in general. Mm-hmm. We praise being from the hood.
Right.
We love being from the hood. I'm from I'm from here. We love repping that. We love repping it, not knowing that the community is poison.
Right.
Right? We poison our community, we dilute it with everything, and we praise all the negativity that comes out of there, right?
Right.
Piety, a hardworking man, a hardworking family is not praised in our communities, right? When we grew up, nobody wanted to be, as you said before, Imam Khalil, when we was on the phone, that nobody wanted to be the bus driver on what was it called? The mob movie.
Bronx Tale. Man is a sucker.
He's a sucker. It said it, he's a sucker. And this was in 1960 something, right? So the working man was always looked at as he's not this, he's not that, right? So we don't have a common goal, right? And our common goal that we need to see. I wanted to share a video. I think I shared it in our group that it was some young men in Philadelphia in a cemetery clowning the dead, acting like they was digging his body up in the cemetery. Our common goal in our communities is the death of the youth. Because the youth are the inheritors of the masjid. When we go, we need people to step up before us. And if they're dying at a rapid pace, then we ain't going to have anybody. We aren't going to be able to create scholars. We ain't going to be able to create half of the Quran as long as our youth are still dying, right? So our common goal should be, okay, we may not agree on this, brother, but we have a war. And it's the war in our communities, right? Let's stick with this and try to come up with a reason how we can fix this war with these young men killing each other. And if you look at the statistics where we're from, I'm not talking about in California, because if you really go to LA, they have it, but Islam is not a threshold. You can't just walk around the city of LA and just find a masajid anywhere. It's not happening. If you know, I could call someone right now, a brother named Abdullah, I could call him now and ask him what's the dynamics of a masjid in the city. You got to go far out in LA to go to a masjid. It's not in Crenshaw district. It's not, you know what I mean, the upper 40s or near the upper 50s. You're not going to find it. You get what I'm saying? So our common thing is that we have young youth that are dying. And the youth names are majority of the young youth. If you look at the statistics of the murders that have been going on in our region, such as the South Jersey, the Pennsylvania region, I'm talking about my area. These young brothers' name is Abdullah, Muhammad, Malik, Munir. All these Muslim names, these young men are dying from gun violence on the streets. One, we got to find out what's the cause of this. And the cause of that is normally that we're not practicing Islam once our doors is closed. Once our doors is closed, we listening to Sexy Red, we listening to ESTG, we listening to everything else outside of that. So now our kids is the reflector of what was going on in the house.
Right. And also too, I mean, most of the time the parents is absent. Parents are either working or if not working, trying to, entertain themselves, trying to find love. Now I'm gonna show you
trying to find solitude away from the children.
Yeah. Now this is the thing though. One of the things I've seen in that dynamic is lost. Now a lot of people do talk about marriage. A lot of people talk about this, but the big difference, I've been Muslim 30 years. The big difference is it's not practiced. We can talk all this all day, right? I was watching the sisters live, which I think was actually a good live. But what you have is a group of single women talking about why they're still single. Being single has become popular and it's taken over.
And I said that before. It's not a praiseworthy trait. It's not a praiseworthy trait.
This also take consideration.
Or it's the single women talking about they don't need a man to lead them.
Well, I think because they're getting so much older, and I watch a lot of different content on it. A lot of the constituency now that's talking like this, they're more older. They're in their mid-30s, or 50 on down. I should say the mid-30s, right? So now they're starting to talk like that, but their early years, whatever happened is whatever happened. So it's turning with the demographics, right? But that wasn't my thing I wanted to focus on. My point I wanted to make was that because marriage has been separated from Islam. Marriage is on its own type, own wave. It's not Islamic. It's not Islamically practiced no more. It's not. It's you talk about Islam, right? What I mean, you talk about Islam, like a woman's supposed to do this. Most of the people you talking to, most of the women that have been Muslim for a long time, you can't even tell them that this is from the deen anymore because they're going to clap back at you with kind of like some, feminist influence, or they're just going to go straight jahiliyyah on you and just ignore you. As if paradise ain't involved in their, in their behavior. Because the very root of everything is always basically at the end of the day, it's always pointing back to our belief. What do we believe in? Paradise and hellfire, right? Our actions can gain us one or the other. We've moved away from that. And so now, and also, the role of the men has been diminished. Men are comfortable not taking the reins. I just had a conversation with, my sons, which they vary in age, but they're pretty much, young men, right? Just before we had the podcast. And one thing I was telling them is like, listen, you have to take the initiative now of what you want to do with your life instead of waiting until you get married and then trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. The goal of getting married ain't just to have sex, right? It's reproducing. It's about raising, building a legacy, passing it down. That used to be part of the early message of Islam. It's not no more. Now everything is about, it became monetarized, right? More monetarized than anything. And then also another mentality that we as men have to drop. That's plaguing us is that the value of money that you spend on a person doesn't mean the person is important to you, because people who have money, they throw it away. That's how they talk. They think, how does a arrogant rich man talk? If you ever listen, go back and examine some of the statements the Quraysh used to say about women. They used to criticize the Prophet ﷺ because they were like, "Oh, Muhammad said women have rights." And then women, what you mean women? Man, we sleep with them. We clothe them, we feed them, we throw them away. Right? So, the mentality, you have to fight against a mentality that is actually dominant and popular. And so you have two sides, two sides of the coin. Some people are actually fighting to keep that nonsense alive and not change. And then you got a group of people who want to change, and then you got a group of people that want to make a hybrid. They still want to be a pimp and a Muslim at the same time, or they want to be a hoe and a Muslim at the same time. They want to do both. They want to have hot girl summers, right? This is what's happening. So the breakdown of Islam, men not praying in the masjid, men not standing on business, taking care of having a plan for their family, and you're allowing your women folk to lead. Women are impressionable. We just got to be real. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran about them that they can't marry any no kafir. They have to marry Muslim men. Why is that? When there's a war that breaks out, we don't understand that. We actually do, but we disregard it. When there's a war that breaks out and the army defeats one army in that, let's say, a town, they took over the town, what happens to the women? What happens to the women and children?
They get taken.
They get taken, right? And captives. And they start to love the people. They start to love the person who defeated their people. Right? All that stuff is romantic in the mind. If I was there, I'll be, you're not gonna be Angela Davis, right? That joint sound good. But many of them will love their oppressor the same way they love their oppressor now. Many of us are offsprings of prisoners of war, and we have no fuel, no hatred towards that whatsoever. Matter of fact, as time progresses, the more we go deeper into loving their culture. You hear when they talk, oh my God, Starbucks, I gotta get my Buckies, all that stuff. That joint is, you're assimilating and buying into that culture. You love it. The whole idea, the whole concept. The whole, you're just buying into that image. You start to bring that.
We ain't gonna talk about Starbucks while I'm right here, though. My brother, man, from the fifth floor.
We buy that whole lifestyle, right? You buy that whole lifestyle. It just buy right into it. And this was when you go back to in 1901 in Nigeria, when the British were coming into Nigeria, there was a Qadi by the name of Qadi Mudi Abdul. He was a judge. He was a jurist. And he gave the fatwa and said, we need to make hijrah, right? But in there, what was his reason? What he said, because there some of the scholars, the learned there, they said, nah, you know what? Maybe we can make a truce with them, right? He said, we can't make a truce with them. He said, we make a truce with them, our women and children will begin to love their lifestyle and want to be amongst them. Who do we lose? Our women and children on a daily basis. On a daily basis. I know what it feels like to have a wife wake up one morning and just tell you, I ain't trying to be Muslim. I know what that joint feel like. That joint was hard body. That joint was a blow to my gut. I'm like, wow, what? Like, wait a minute. Just look at you, just straight up. Yo, I ain't doing this no more. You see what I'm saying? So these type of things. What happened? You got a child that just don't want to practice Islam. Then, all of these things are hard body gut shots. And it takes you back at least about 20 years. when you lose one person like that, right? So we don't have that motivation like that either. You understand that when you want to, when you're young and you want to be part of a gang, there's a uniform. Yo, you can't be wearing blue. You can't put CK together. I know y'all gang Muslims. I be seeing y'all when y'all be typing, y'all be texting me and be forgetting. They don't put the CK together. They they be like, Imam will come to the masjid. Hey, yo, such and such, CC. I'll be back, CC. No CK. I know exactly I know what that's hitting for. We can't get away from that jahiliyyah. And so when Islam is not the priority and the foundation, you ain't gonna get along with nobody. Brotherhood ain't important to nobody no more because we're using our jahiliyyah, our non-Islamic practices, behaviors, and thinking and mind state on why we don't want to get along with someone else. It don't have nothing to do with the deen. It's just, it's just straight, I don't care about none of this stuff. Oh, we got a couple comments here. I'm about to go to these comments real quick. Unless y'all can chime in. I ain't trying to over talk. So
I had to finish these gushers in this jelly crimpet, man.
We're not allowed to say what needs to be said. The men aren't allowed to change anything. You try, you die.
Can I rebuttal that?
Go ahead.
Anything you believe in, you're gonna have to stand on it. You may have to die about it.
Factory.
If you let's go back to gangs, people who in these street tribes. You blood, you crip, you believe in that, you stand on that. The ops slide, you're gonna have to slide back, and you may die in that in a situation, or you may go to prison. So anything you believe in and you stand on, you're gonna have to die for. So don't think that you're always gonna see the end of the tunnel. Some of us is going to make it. Some of us aren't.
No. See, you're going to have to. Why come from the street tribes? They have literature. They have concepts. They have PE classes. PE political education. I mean, some of the political education stem from the BLA, the Black Liberation Army, the Black Liberation Movement. Right, some their politics stem from other things. So they've always had political influence on street tribes in Chicago.
Now I want to interject something, Muhammad. You gotta remember, these young boys ain't on that scene. They ain't on that path.
No, they're not.
They're apolitical.
They're renegades.
Wildlings. They're just
they call them renegades. They're renegades.
Yeah, they don't have that stuff. And we're older. We're on our way out.
Yeah, it's different. It's a lot different.
They're not gonna be able to wave a white flag.
It's a lot different now. Even there. I mean,
right.
Even there. The only place that stuff is upheld is in the prisons.
It's in prisons. Yep, it's in prisons.
It's in the state prisons. Well, federal prison. Well, the state prisons, as a matter of fact.
No, in federal prison too, because in the feds you have cars. Well, you have the cars then.
Well, in the feds, it's your race. You got to be with your own race. I remember when his brother, he used to be a Latin king on the street. Allah Ta'ala guided him to Islam, and I think they was in Terre Haute. Terre Haute is one of the most. Terre Haute Federal Penitentiary is like gladiating school, and what had happened. One of the skinheads had hit a Muslim, right? Mm-hmm. And Amir Akuha, Allah Yahamahu, he had came to, they was getting ready to hit these boys. And when he came with a bunch of with himself, the other brothers that was Muslim, and a bunch of stones. Mm-hmm. Some of these guys, they got on crosses and pyramids and all this type of stuff. And the brother tell him, like, look, man, we're getting ready to come at these skinheads. They hit a Muslim. You got these guys with you. I mean, they ain't even Muslim. He said, well, they with me. Right? Mm-hmm. He was like, they with me. And Akuha, he's not somebody that you mess that you mess with. He ain't no pushover. He was one of them goons. Right? Mm-hmm. So what happened is that the Muslims still did what they had to do, but them other guys was left out and not included, right? So the thing is, the thing is, in the Fed joints, everybody stick with their people. That's why this other brother, he don't trust Spanish people in the Fed joint, because they'll flip on you. You know what I'm saying? They'll flip on. They supposed to be with you, but they'll flip on you. You know what I mean? Unless they're Muslim. You know what I mean? The Muslim ones, they're gonna ride with the Muslims regardless of what their people are on.
I want to switch the track. It's still on the track, but I want to switch the track. I'm gonna bring us accountable to our youth. And the reason why I'm saying that, the experiences and how we as men, as black men, black Muslim men, right? Well, let me take the Muslim part out. The reason why I'm saying that, because that's not supposed to be the etiquette of Muslim. How we deal with young boys, we'll never reach them. We emasculate them. We talk down on them. Tell them how they soft, how they ain't this, you ain't that, you ain't never gonna be this, that, and the third, right?
I don't. I don't.
No, I don't. I make a conscious effort not to do that.
Yeah, I don't. I don't talk to youngsters like that neither.
I see this, and I watch imams do it on lives. You know what I mean? He call brothers bums. You dudes be struggling, right? Now, most people and women do it to their husbands. If you show emotion, you start to show emotion, express yourself. Oh, you getting soft. You know, these brothers are weak, right? So, you know, so now what happens is you create an enemy within the already disliked group of people anyway. The world is against you, and then you get smaller and smaller as it goes on. So we got these young bucks, they're coming up. They have no knowledge of self, no knowledge of deen, no knowledge of anything. They apolitical, right? I knew life was over when I listened to this one song with Jim Jones in it, and Jim Jones was making a song dissing Trump. When I realized that, I said we done. And Jim Jones actually old head for real. But it just kind of like, I was like, yo, we're done. You're done. It's over with. So now you're gonna have a group of people. It's almost gonna come down to, and you got to take the example from, you know, Islam. The Aus and the Khazraj were generational beef, and it had no real rhyme or reason to it. They will rumble. You know when, and how it opened the door for the Prophet ﷺ to come through to Yathrib at the time, Medina. You know how that joint happened? There was one big battle and all the elders died. All the elders died. So the youth were a little bit more open to accepting things, right? But now, when you look at it, and me and Ahmed was just talking about people we grew up around, a lot of times we didn't even realize you had this one kid that was just crazy, that would fight and cuss everybody out, do all kinds of wild and rambunctious stuff. Main man was autistic. You couldn't find out. You know, he dude stay in and out of jail. It's like the dude can't make no discernment between right and wrong. And he's constantly in jail. There's nobody that's going to argue on his behalf, but he's just always, and you let him out, he just do something and just go right back, right? And so, but anyway, I've noticed that pattern. And then what it does is, because I was that young guy once upon a time too. You know what I'm saying? The men in my family, they didn't talk, you know, nice to you. They tell you, boy, you dumb as a box of rocks. Yeah. And the women emasculate you just as much. And I watch the women in the family emasculate the younger women. You know what I'm saying? Now, truthfully, I say it under my breath all the time, like, shoot, they wasn't that far off about them, but it wasn't motivating them. It didn't motivate them to do anything. This is why you think the Prophet ﷺ, he said this in the hadith, the one who doesn't show any respect, right, to our elders and don't have the mercy on the youth, they're not from us, right? Now think about it. Most people only emphasize the youth part because most of us are older, and so we love the verbally beat our youth. You have to be, if you are a Muslim, especially one in influence and power. When I'm saying influence, that includes a mother and a father. You have to be the type, have the type of personality. Now think about this. How do we learn about the person who commits adultery? How do we learn that, that the high punishment is for them to be stoned to death? Because they came to the Prophet ﷺ and told on their self. Now that takes a lot of iman, and it also takes a lot of comfortability with you as the person. And and as Imam, I tell y'all stories. Those stories ain't as deep as the stuff that I'll never tell on people, because people came to me with a lot of problems, and I know from talking to them, we do have a lot of issues. Dudes go through sexual molestation, all kinds of stuff, right? You have to be that type of person where they're able to open up to you. Now, most men, their idea is to open up to their woman. And then when she puts all his business out there, then he hates all women. He can never trust women again. Then he's scarred emotionally, right? Vice versa, same thing with women. They trust a man in a certain, certain thing, and then he exposed that, and then she, emotionally scarred and damaged. Now you put this, and this keeps happening frequently because this is a cultural practice, right? A sunnah practice. When I'm saying sunnah, I'm not tying it to the Prophet, so I'm using the word literally. It's a cultural practice, and nobody wants to abandon it. We use it as intel, and then we start shooting it back and forth at each other. And so then what happened? You got a bunch of angry people looking at each other for marriage, because the only reason why they're going to get married is they're looking at it like, well, it's part of the deen, and I got to have sex.
And we use terminologies for it now, as you were saying. It's called the scoop. What's the new one? The tea, right?
The tea, yeah.
It's called the tea, right? So we have terminologies. We put good terminologies on bad behavior, right? So we can hide it behind that, right?
Exactly. And so this is part of the destruction of the community. So think about this. You got all of that hardship, hurting, everybody's hurting. You've been emasculated your whole life. That's why I think some young men, they love women that talk greasy to them. I can't stand it, bro. I can't do it. I could probably handle a woman trying to fist fight me versus somebody that try to like verbally try to emasculate me. I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? But I notice most young men, they can deal with a woman like that. That's why once I got a breath outside of New York, I ain't never went back to a New York woman ever in my life, right? So what happens is you become used to that joint. And I see some of the younger crowd, boy, they talk to each other. It's crazy. Hey, like you be like, yo, you talk to your wife like that? Damn, your wife talking to you like that? They're used to it. And sometimes, and we gotta, and this goes back to studying Islam. You gotta be like a sociologist, a psychologist when you're an imam. You can't keep referring it to a college grad psychologist, man. They ain't no shade at y'all. But when it comes to
Khalil, you want to know something funny?
Mm-hmm.
The women who talk the most craziest to the men, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is the top major cities in the United States. LA, they call them busters, weirdos, right?
Yeah.
Philly, they call them the DH, right? And the P word, right? New Yorkers, I don't know what y'all call it. Y'all just foul in general.
It's the same thing. Yo, you
Chicago, y'all call them. It's all the top major cities where the women have the most crazy.
That's where the influence.
Chicago, you get called a goofy in a minute.
Yeah, goofy. Yeah, you're goofy.
Goofy in a minute.
So basically, that's why that because what's missing out of that, Islam erases what came before it, but we don't want to let what came before it go. We don't want to let it go.
It's that we can't. We don't know how.
We don't want to let it go. No, we know how. It's simple.
So some of us do, right? Because it's like this, right?
We don't want to.
Letting go also.
Follow the instructions.
Letting go sometimes, Imam Khalil, is acknowledgement, acceptance, Accountability.
Not letting it go is making it normal, and it's
exact.
Not
so now is that nobody know how to be like, yo. It's to the point now. Even saying my bad is becoming tough, bro. It's becoming tough now. Meaning that if I did something to you and be like, yo, my bad, bro, I apologize. Nowadays, it's getting so normal that we can be like, well, you should have never been in my way. Why you walk over here? Accountability is becoming so rare that we can't even apologize to each other no more, bro. Well, name somebody now. Being derogatory and mean and overly aggressive is the norm in society. So that's what I'm saying. Now it's to the point where we don't know how to sit down, analyze what we're doing wrong to make that change in that step. We don't know how, bro.
You know when you're growing? I said, me and Ahmed was talking about this. I said that I was talking about sometimes, you know, when you marry, right? That's a whole nother realm by itself. So especially as a man, you got so much going on, you know, and you trying to be the best Muslim you can be. You're really like one incident from being in prison for the rest of your life. As a man, you got everything coming at you, and you know, and then you got to deal with, you know, the home life. You got to deal with your kids. You got to deal with everybody disrespect. You gotta fight through all of this to make it home every day. You're one incident away from losing your life, right? From ending it all, pulling the plug on everything. It's always one incident. It's an everyday occurrence. Y'all see how it is to drive in Philly.
Oh my God!
If you was defeated, and it's crazy because you really can't hear each other if y'all got the windows up. But if you was to read off the driving energy, y'all will be. How many incidents you hear about somebody getting shot at on 76 on a regular basis? All because of one person merged and cut off, and this person didn't put the. Your life is like that on a daily basis, right? And you're like, yo, I just need a moment. But sometimes you had that kind of situation where that your family like, man, I ain't trying to hear that, you know, you know, you like, yo, I'm like 10 seconds from exploding. Like, give me a second, man. Don't keep coming at me like that. But nobody understands that. But then when you snap out, they be like, see, that brother had the dunya in his heart. If he was on the right minhaj, if he had to solo, if he had this, if he had that, you know, internally, that is true. You have to.
They can't drive. They can't drive here.
But see, this is the thing. Driving tells about your natural inner state. Driving exposes who you are. If you're a complainer, you know, I don't care how humble you are around people. If you constantly crying and complaining, man, what's up? If you snap, that's the true you. That's the true you. You know.
And what is that person if they do that? What is that considered as?
Oh, I don't know. He's just a complainer.
Just a complainer.
He ain't got no patience.
No patience.
You know what I'm saying? It tells a lot about your character. A person that ain't got a care in the world, they just drive, you know, just mashallah. I don't care.
I remember an old time.
I call them future crash dummies because they're gonna crash out sooner or later.
I remember old timer told me, he said it ain't about who right. It's about who's left, and what he meant by that, I seen it with my own eyes. I'm at a stoplight. Right? And the light turned green. The car next to me, he shoots out, gets smacked by 18-wheeler, and the 18-wheeler kept going and knocked the car into the currency exchange. Who's right? Who's left? You know what I'm saying?
That could be a metaphor too.
The most patience I've seen when I went down to New Orleans, right? The patience of the people there. Because, you know, we up here, but, you know, due to me being Muslim, I got a little bit of patience, right? I got enough. Mm-hmm. I said, wow. They wait at these lights this long down here? I had to ask. They said, yeah, we just sit here till somebody want to move. I was like, I can't believe this. Because up here, as soon as that light turned green, what happens? When we start going crazy.
Yo,
So
my
just to
only problem is at a crossway, when there's too many people walking, I get PTSD from New York. You start putting your bumper out there because people will just walk and the light and end up changing. So New Yorkers, they just keep creeping up on you. They'll just keep creeping up on you, until you either stop or they end up hitting your leg. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times I get here, especially I'm over here by the University of Penn. I'm trying to turn and the light changed. Everybody, I just start putting the front of the car out there, like, yo, come on, yo. That's one of my big problems. You know what I'm saying? That's self accountability right there. But anyway, like I said, it's the families can't flourish because Islam is missing. Families can't flourish. Islam is missing. You ever been married and you wake your wife up for salat and she cuss you out? That's a bad sign.
Yep.
But it happens.
You wake them up for soup and they fight you and they sleep with the cover.
Yeah, or you might got a wife that wakes you up for soup. But energetic. She's too energetic. She's so energetic. She like, if you don't get up, I'm gonna throw water on you.
I was about to say, you're gonna throw that water on you.
I had a wife who used to wake me up for soup. Right. She will wet her hands with warm water, not cold water, warm water, and put them on my face, and I'll wake up.
Bro, listen,
that was like one time she did it with some cold water. Almost hit her waking up. Oh, jump!
Did you see it? Sidebar.
It shocked me. Like, oh.
Sidebar. Did y'all see the joint, the meme with the guy? They pulled Dr. Pepper in the dude's mouth. He said, "What's that, Dr. Pepper?"
Nah, I didn't see that.
He was sleep snoring. They poured Dr. Pepper.
If you could take back and go back in time and put the 90s, 2000s Muslims with today's ability of earning money, you'll have a halfway decent family. Because it was dedication there, but there was no money at that time. Now there's more money, but there's no dedication. Most people are like, nah, ain't no money now. No, it is. I've been here almost 5 decades. There's more money now. It's less people working.
And it's more spending on useless things.
Is being spent uselessly. Exactly.
Well, now you got more opportunities. Where you know, say back in the 90s and the early 2000s, you didn't hear about anybody working from home.
Or nowadays you can have a record. You can have a record and really get a job in this era now. Back then, if you came home from prison, it was hard to get a job coming home from prison.
Exactly.
Back in the day.
We made our own jobs. We made our own jobs. We weren't worried about that.
Job coming home from prison.
But here, man, it was rough.
I never
you know how though, because I always utilize the labor ready and the temp agencies. Always.
That's all I would hire most.
We're not talking about that. We talking about you going here to a job that you was getting denied back in the day. If you went specifically to the job without
back in the day, we had something called bonding. Like if you was bonded, like so you came home from the joint and you got bonded, then Pepsi Cola they'll hire you, Coca-Cola they'll hire you, right? Because you're bonded, if anything happened, they're gonna get paid from.
That's what I'm saying. It depends on
so
where you at.
It was some initiatives for them to hire someone who was bonded. Like with the temp agencies, if you work at an assignment like for 2-3 months, you end up getting hired permanently.
Yeah,
not up here. You do 3 months, they firing you after that 3 months. Yep. After that 3 months, they was letting you go.
You just starting to get your feet planted on whatever you make it, and then it's all cut off.
Yep, they let you go right after 3 months.
This is the thing. Now, peep this. Now, 90s, I'm talking about 90s, 2000s, and all that, right? There are a lot of your 40 and 50-year-olds that we keep trying to marry. They're scarred. The wives of the men that kept working them temp agencies, bro, they were always getting evicted. That's just keep it 100, a whole 100. They were always getting evicted because you couldn't keep a job. And then every man like that was like, I don't want my wife to work. I'm going to struggle. I'm going to get there. We had a lot of pride, a lot of sense of pride, right? But we were always about to be put out, or our lights was always off, or the water was always off, or something was always off. And we would grow accustomed to that, right? One thing I've learned, you got to have a special type of woman that's able to hold down financial trials like Hajar. You know what I'm saying? Ismail alayhi salam's mother. She got left in the middle of Mecca, nowhere, with nothing but water coming out the ground. That was always the opportunity. That's where infidelities came in at. You know, the woman might love you to death, but now she's gonna go mess around with somebody else to get a couple dollars. You see what I'm saying? We as men will adjust and adapt. We'll be like, yo, as long as I got this bearskin rug, it's all right if I sleep outside for a little while. Our women and children can't handle that joint. And so then when they get out of that situation, now you become the worst husband that they ever been married to. Girl, this man had us living in and out of shelters, in and out of cars. And women ain't trying to live in no car. They'll do that when they buy themselves as a single mother. But in marriage, for some reason, they're not going to do that type of thing. And you shouldn't really have to live like that, but it happens, right?
Because there's no unison in our marriages anymore, Imam.
I think you're missing my point.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
They gave all that energy to the early on. They not trying to do that. I'm with you. That's why with some women, if they get a shut off notice, it's almost like a crisis.
But Khalil, they rather go through that now because I spoke to many people, right? I hate wallahi aleen. Now is the fear of independency of men. Right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Is now that they fear that a man, because now he has too much control over her lifestyle.
Well, that been happening. They was trying to take away that control from the 90s on up. Brothers who had a wife that stayed at home, bro, they was prying at her to go out and get a job. They was prying. There used to be men that tell their wife, look, I don't want you working here. Some dudes, they couldn't afford it, but they got comfortable. As a black man, you can't never get comfortable. Just because you work for sanitation, you work for the city, that does not mean you'll never get fired. We get comfortable. So you like, yo, I'm pulling in 60, 70 a year. I don't want my wife outside. I want her to work on the kids. Then all of a sudden you get fired. Then what does she do? I had to live outside in the truck. It's over. It's over from that point. You never recover. She might thug it out with you a couple trips. Them joints is like prison bids for her. The amount of times you get evicted, that was like you did your first, second, and third bid. She not gonna do it on the fourth one. So then she's like, look, I'd just rather be single. Then when she get a situation and being alone all that time, she's not trying to go back to being alone, but she find a man, she'll start accepting a dude that can't do nothing. She's like, shoot, I married him. I've been with him all that time. Right? Then when he start coming up, now it's a problem. I don't think this is gonna work out between us. Oh, what you running around with different women? As long as he's sedentary, he's sitting.
As long as he's tangible, he's right here.
Well, I always say, as long as he's the lampshade, she's all right with it. You gotta understand. There's bad history. It's the bad hit. It's the thing that they've been through. A lot of times you got to sit down and talk to them about that joint. If it's too bad, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't recommend dudes to do it. And you can find that out before you even marry it. If that joint is too bad, I'm cool, shorty. I know I'm not your ex-husband. I don't know what happened with y'all, but if it's that bad, you probably need some time. You need some more time to recover.
Man, listen, I've seen somebody been recovering for 8 years for a 2-year marriage.
Damn, that's a long time.
That's a
But
long.
then-
See, the problem is that that's the.
But look at the flip side. Look at the flip side. Now, I was talking to somebody today. They're in a situation. Main man just got out of jail, right? Main man just got out of jail. Dude they're living from pillar to post. Main man ain't even trying to get offer any type of money. He tried to hit the streets. Streets so dry, ain't nobody making no money in the streets either. He's staying with people. Him and the girl staying with people. It's like, yo, bro, you ever thought about like offering them a couple dollars for you staying here? Then it's like, yo, why you always ask me for money? Dude, we staying in somebody's house. We taking up their space. People get comfortable. They get comfortable. And then when it's like, yo, she's telling you to pay for something, now you upset, you mad, you ready to leave her. How they say dudes be breaking up with girls just before Valentine's Day so they don't have to take her out. That's what happens. As soon as she asks for money, all he's gonna want is money.
Hey, it's a young boy in my job, right? he was raised Muslim.
Right.
But like now he said, I'm only Muslim when the holidays come around.
Astaghfirullah. Nah. Hold on, let me put this comment up there because this comment. Now I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna mention something.
Can I throw something in for that real fast?
Go ahead.
Now that you party.
Uh-huh.
I'm in the I live in a community area where is that the one about the jobs, right? That we have to create jobs.
Okay. Create jobs.
I'm in a community where jobs is passed down through lineage, right? Where a father is electrical engineer, the great grandfather is electrical engineer. This guy came to be electrical engineer. They have electrical engineer company, so when the son graduates, he can do this, right?
Right.
So we have these type of things, right? And there's a lot of Muslim companies a lot of Muslim men who owns these companies, right? And when you sit back and you call it, because it's people that are called for young men that just came home from prison, like, bro, he need a job, da-da-da. They say, man, they're hire everyone else but us due to us. Now, I'm not saying every one of us. A lot of us are lazy.
You know what? As you were saying that, my mind, I ain't gonna lie, my mind went there, and I'm gonna tell you why. I know my people. They'll work with you a little bit. They do stuff. Yo, I ain't coming in. I ain't showing up. I wouldn't even hire us sometimes. I would hire brothers in the masjid. I hire brothers from the Jamaat because I'm already doing a job interview with you because I see your work ethic by, if you're around or not. You know what I'm saying? But if you aren't, you know what I'm saying, doing stuff, I already know how you're gonna handle it. But to add on, you just made me think of something. I watched a podcast one time. This dude, I forgot his name, but anyway, he was talking about the pandemic and like social media and all that, how everybody's getting paid on him. He was like, what happened was with the whole pandemic thing, and then the segue right over into social media. He was like, they just created the future for people that are not going to get jobs. They're going to be lazy because right now money's too easy. And even when things start slowing up, they're always going to live with the hope that I can make $80,000 a month off of YouTube if I just do dumb stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it created that now. And so now most people are aspiring to be a social media influencer.
Yep.
You don't need a job in their mind. You see what I'm saying? You don't put yourself but this is where the community life come at. Anybody that knows me and has been around our Jamaat, I always push brothers to do what? Get a skill. Get a skill that they're going to pay you for your skill. But you know where I learned that from? I learned that from two imams in my life. Imam Shabazz, who was the outside prison coordinator when I was in Green Correctional Facility, and Muhammad Sharif. He said, yo, you got to make yourself employable. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right, I didn't think about it until I went back to it again, but also Booker T. Washington had that same type of philosophy as well. Make yourself hireable. that they'll pay you for your skill because they need skill. Everybody doesn't have a skill. But if you have a skill, if you're a person that, you know how to drive forklifts, they're going to hire you. Now, if they got like five selections, you might be the last consideration if it depends on your complexion, right? In your background. But you got to make yourself employable. Most of us are working at where I go, you go to all these different towns. When you go down to the little small towns down south, where do you see most black people working at? Wendy's, Taco Bell, McDonald's. Now, I respect work everywhere. But why do I say it like that? Because that's the one job that if they clip you, they'll fill that spot right next week. They'll fill it with somebody else. Right? How many there's a shortage of nurses out here? They could give away free education, it still wouldn't be enough to cover that shortage. There's a shortage of paramedics, there's a shortage of EMTs, there's a shortage of firefighters, there's a shortage of cops, there's a shortage of computer security, right? Software, all that stuff. How many you going to see? How do we make it diverse? How you make that field diverse if nobody has the skill to enter into that arena? You see what I'm saying? So these things, all of this plays part. Why? Because this, without Islam, without that community life, ain't nothing gonna work. We've been talking about an hour and 20 minutes now. From the first minute we came in up till now, everything that's mentioned is all reliant on the deen. If you don't have no Islam, you're gonna have chaos. You're gonna have chaos. You know what I'm saying? The bottom line. So your situation won't change without the deen. It just won't change. Mishaps are part of life. Islam teaches you how to deal with mishaps. We look at it, it's a test. Everything is the qadr of Allah, right? Everything is by Allah Ta'ala's decree. So what happens? We may be saddened at the moment that the thing happened, but we don't live with it and carry it with us all through our whole life, right? That's why the Prophet ﷺ taught us to say what? When a misfortune happens, say what? Qadar Allahu ma shafa'a, right? That's what Allah Ta'ala decreed, and He's pleased to happen. So, that's what it is, right? But when you don't have that, now you're sitting there, somebody died. Now you like, it's my fault because if I only unplugged the stove, he wouldn't have been here. So now you standing at the edge of the edge of the bridge and you ready to jump. You see what I'm saying? Islam, you need Islam. And if you can't deal with day-to-day things, think about it. You know that ayat in Surah Al-Hajj where it talks about Surah 22, where Allah Ta'ala talks about the how frightening the Qiyamah is going to be, how frightening that day is going to be, that day is standing. He said, Allah Ta'ala said that even the child will be birthed with gray hair. The mother ain't even going to worry about the suckling baby. We are almost like you look at the behavior of a lot of it, they don't want their children. The men don't want the children because, they don't want the responsibility. That's why you got deadbeats. Some of them relationships was based on zina. You know what I'm saying? We did what he did. I don't want you no more. And then you got the guy that ain't gonna do nothing because he don't want to be responsible, right? But then she's stuck with the children, and then she don't want her kids. She don't want the kids. See, Islam would have stopped all that. How? Get married, right? You got accountability because everything just ain't done behind closed doors. You got a wakil, you got your leadership. There's some sort of accountability there. But for some reason, we don't think that's good enough.
Some people don't want leadership. They don't want leadership, and they don't want to be a part of the community. They want to
because it brings about accountability.
They want to roll how
it go back to like I said that it went back to what I said. It is about accountability, acceptance. We don't know how to do any of that.
Now I wanted to comment not comment to it, but address a little bit more this comment about that's why us Muslims supposed to come together and create our own economic system. We already got an economic system, right? We already got a methodology for doing business, trade and commerce, right? I remember back in the day, and you know, a lot of old timers that knew my B. They, you know what I'm saying, they sold fruit, had fruit stands where they sold fruit on near the expressway in different spots in the city. My B was the first brother to start doing that. Once he started doing it, he started putting other brothers on. He had this program for brothers coming home from the penitentiary where he set them up for those who wanted to do it, set them up to sell merchandise. Whether it was cleaning products, detergent, you know, hair products, whatever, right? And then you had brothers who sold oil, body oil. Back then, it was it was chopped that can be made selling body oil. You know what I'm saying? Like $200, $300, $500 a day type of hustle, right? But I'm talking about in the 80s and in the 90s. Now, we got different hustles. In our time now, we got to have more than one hustle. And I gotta say this, and I can't say this enough. Scamming is not an entrepreneurship. Scamming is not a business, right? Scamming is not a business. I'm sorry. Stop with the what's your Cash App and all of that stuff. I don't like Cash App. I only use it for personal, right? For people that I know, right? I like Venmo, Zelle, PayPal, right?
No.
A system where I can't be robbed and don't have nobody to talk to about the money that was stolen from me. So scamming is not entrepreneurship, right? You know what I'm saying? But you have now. I'm gonna tell you this YouTube thing, this content creating stuff. You know what I mean, it's a hit. Once you get monetized though. Once you get monetized, you get your subscribership up, right? You know what I mean, it's a hit. If you got talent, you can make a lot of money at doing this joint. You know what I mean?
Everybody ain't got talent.
It's people that's making 10, 20,000 a month on YouTube.
But everybody ain't got talent. Everybody doesn't have a voice. That's the point. See, social media gave everybody a voice, even for people who don't have a voice.
I'm not talking about having a voice. I'm talking about people that have talent, right?
But the talent isn't selling yourself.
It ain't
Social
even about,
media
it ain't even
is
really
about selling
the
yourself.
selling yourself.
I got to make you believe everything that I'm doing is selling yourself, is marketing yourself. You got to find who you're catering to. That's the thing about now.
Do you remember the McDonald's thing with the kids? The woman got multiple kids' fathers, and the kids was hungry, and he came through with a meal just for his kid.
Yeah, I remember that.
That joint was a stage situation.
Yeah, they was content creators.
The new one. What's that? The girl, the Tisa. Why the F did I get married? That joint, she getting paid off that joint. If you listen closely, right? Main man wasn't as bad as she made him out to be, but he was bad though. He was bad. He was bad money, right? Now because the guy was from Philly, it took all the Philly women. I told you these Philly dudes ain't no good. Bro, that joint don't make a difference whether you're from Philly or anything else. Now the thing was, when you pay attention, I don't want to like venture off, but that joint did have me a little locked in a little bit because I was waiting for what was the issue. So I ended up listening to somebody else who gave a summary of it because it was just too many 50 videos. It's just too much. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, main man was paying bills and all that. I had a funny feeling he wasn't saying who he said he was though. That was the thing. He was selling himself. He was like, yo, I'm the VP of a company, blah, blah, blah. But guess where he worked at, Muhammad?
Where he worked at?
Temp agency, brother. Temp agency.
Temp agency.
so you know, he was trying to get a crib. He didn't scam her because she didn't get stuck with the crib and nothing like that. He might have been Malika. He might have been selling dreams, but she didn't get burnt in the end. It was she just took her for a roller coaster ride. He was sitting there playing like he was talking to his brothers and everybody on the phone back in Philly and stuff, and he wasn't even on the phone with nobody.
What is it? Was it a show or something like that?
Nah, it's a lady. She made TikTok. She on YouTube too. If I find it, I'll send it to you.
Basically,
we about to make it rich.
Basically, all of
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Basically, all the YouTubers are really drifters. Right.
You gotta learn. Yeah, you gotta learn.
They grifters. So like with that Cat Williams Club Shay interview, everybody made money off of that. When they got the Monique interviews Club Shay, they trying to make money off of that too. You know what I mean? So everybody that's mad at Cat Williams because he ain't mention their name in the positive, in a negative way. You know what I'm saying?
I know. So I'm looking at the comments. She said the guy was the master of lies. I know some brothers, some Muslim brothers like that.
Yeah.
One brother told me one time because he, whatever. But anyway, he was like, "Man, I was at the Quran camp in Delaware." We're like, "What?" Yo, listen, man, I can tell you some stories, so I ain't going. So I'm not shocked, and I know people that ain't Muslim that could lie real good. That he'll master manipulate, and that's all main man was. He was just a liar. He was a liar. But
so you got master liars, masters of excuses.
Nah, I think she was somewhere from the sticks, bro. But
that's the prime definition of a narcissist. He ran game on you first. You got suckered, and that's it.
Look, bro, that's
what a narcissist is. He running game, and you fell for the game, man.
He was looking to come up. She was looking to come up. Main man said he went to San Diego State.
That's what I'm trying to. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say it again, y'all. I'm gonna say it again. A narcissist is a person who's running game, and he's better at running game than you.
He beat you.
He beat you to the punch. That's it. He's seen you was weak. Let me get her for everything. Let me get her for coming out. That's what it is.
To the fifth power.
That's what I'm saying. That's all it is. That's all it is, y'all. Like all this, we just put names on. When you grew up, what was the main thing they used to tell you to do, Imam Khalil, what you call when you're talking to shorty? Yo, go run your game.
Run your game, yeah.
So if I ran my game, I got like, well, I could see. The pimp game, you gotta have that talk, you gotta have that mouth. All this is all it is. We just put it now. The feminist group put a big name on it and everybody's using it. Oh, he's a narcissist. No, he's a player. That would be called a player back in the 90s.
Listen, bro.
That's all it would be.
That stuff is used. That stuff is used based on your level. Because who's the biggest liars in society right now?
Government.
Politicians.
Yep. Politicians.
Everybody voted for old senile Joe because he said you ain't black if you don't vote for me. If that ain't some weak game, and they all ran. And they all ran for it. That's all it is. Ran for it. Everybody get ready. Dr. Pork. They run game. Oh, what do you say that? Yo, what's the new young boy down in Georgia, bro? They got a new coat. They got another coat. They walk around half naked and stuff like that. Like the listen. I know there's one thing with all coats, and I think they all got the same characteristic. They all fall apart because they all slaves to the lower half of their body. All of them joints fall apart. Elijah, Dr. Pork, all them dudes. How many selfie matches got crashed in because they was brother like, polite young girl? How many Sufis got exposed because they was messing with some youngin? Talking about you my Aisha. How you gonna tell a married woman something like that, bro? You know what I'm saying? You can't mystify this one, bro. Don't hit me with that. Don't hit me with that. You killer. You got a killer. I'm gonna kill you some 2 pieces, bro. He's almost you see
we
this
just
thing you don't understand, city. You know, like Musa and Killer, nigga. You say that one more time.
Yeah, we just put terminologies on stuff nowadays, man, and use it as fuel to argue people down, man. So back then you would have been called a player. You would have been a player. Now you know all that type of stuff. You know the men get what was pimping? Pimping turned pimping to sex trafficking.
Yeah, well, you don't need a pimp no more. They
No,
pimp
it's
themselves now. OnlyFans is they pimp.
Yeah, now you can pay taxes.
OnlyFans is porno.
Nah, not all of it. Some of them just showing toes, bro. They show toes and stuff like that, and they get paid. They get subscribers. So, yeah,
unless they old porn stars, then it's porno.
That's like Instagram. You got them Instagram models. They go live and stuff like that. Take a bunch of pictures. I'll be catching. Yo, listen. I'll be catching.
If Instagram shut down, there go your modeling career.
Yo, I'm about to get my stomach done. I'm about to make some of this money here.
listen, right? I'm gonna tell you this one story, and I'm off this joint. It was hilarious. So there's an old head that I know here in Philly, man. Good brother, you know. I see him all that. So I got a bad habit of being nosy, but I just don't never expose nobody. I'm nosy though, right? So I notice I get this weird friend request, right? So I look on the person page, that friend request. It's a bunch of pictures of like girls in like drawers and bikinis and stuff like that, right? And we got one mutual friend, and it's this one brother. Then I noticed there was another one that came. We had one mutual friend. It was the same brother. So I said to myself, I was like, yo, Shake, I can't stop thinking about this joke because I've been laughing all night. Because I like, yo, my old head, man. That's my old head. We be chopping up all the time. But yo, he got these joints. I was like, I don't think he know. I think he be giving out cash apps. He was like, what you mean? So the one joint I showed him, it was a picture of some Pakistani boy. But when you go in the page, it's all the women in they drawers and stuff, right? Posing. So I was like, yo, I said, look at the comment. And it was like, yo, cash at me. He was like, mashallah. Yo, one joint, he was so wide open. He was like, he said, I don't think he realized that he was on the joint, and then the Muslims just came out of the woodwork. This was the funny part. I'll stop it, right? So he comes out, he's like, girl, you a goddess, right? And the old brother said, ain't no God except Allah. I keep hearing Allah. Yo, son, I was dead. I was like, yo, I need to stop being nosy, man. This is what I get. So I just like left off that joke. But yo, I swear, you see some strange stuff on social media. You start investigating who would friend request you and stuff. Oh my God. Like Muhammad, I know you be seeing the joint in the groups. All them joints we be throwing away. They come in, they request with Muslim names, and then they keep trying to post porn and all that in our groups.
Mm-hmm.
I be catching them joints all the time. Like, yo, these dudes do not quit, man. And I reported one of them. You know, Facebook told me this doesn't violate our guidelines. I quoted Pablo Escobar. They banned my page for 30 days. Y'all didn't even know I was banned last year in Ramadan. I quoted a statement from Pablo Escobar, and they told me they banned my page said because I use content that it goes against the Facebook guidelines because he's a known terrorist.
Okay, somebody posted something with Anwar Awalaki on my page about 3 years ago. The feds came knocking on my door.
But anyway, so why we can't get along? Because the deen ain't the priority. That's my closing statement. What y'all brothers say?
I say we can't. I say we can't get along because we took brotherhood and sisterhood out of the scenario. We can't be brothers, and so we can't be friends. We don't know how to be friends. We don't know how to be brothers. We don't know how to be brothers and sisters.
That turns into we can't be husband and wives either. Because you can't. Who's a good friend? Who's a good friend to their wife, but bad friend to everybody else, or vice versa? Because you're gonna show that the same loyalty you're gonna show your homie, you're gonna show your wife that too.
Yeah, you are.
You know what I'm saying? That's usually how it go. You know what I mean? Your homie call you right now, yo, I'm jammed up. I need $2. All right, say no more. You shoot the money to your wife. Do the same thing. Your wife call you, babe. I need such and such. Say no more. Or your wife, your wife send you money. So you be a bad, you're a bad husband. You're a bad friend. You're gonna be a bad spouse too.
Yeah, you are.
Whatever those traits are that you got, you're gonna display them to other people.
So do you think this is? So do you think this is the key point of why? I don't want to play the blame game on it, but do you think this is one of the reasons why now? Because if you look at the companionship, as what me and I said on my live before, like the sisters are so harsh with each other, like they can't even be friends with each other. Do you think that now is like that? Because how can you be a good wife too if you can't be a good friend or can't keep friends?
Well, the sharp tongue, if they sharp tongue with everybody else, then we sharp tongue with their husband and their kids. Mm-hmm. That's why I was saying everything is about emasculation. That's how we lost our youth. We get emasculated. We get emasculated by our parents and L-heads and wives, mothers, aunties, grandmoms, right? How many people? I know I got this. If you need to borrow money from your auntie or your grandma, you get emasculated before they give it to you. You be like, yo, you got $25? See, if you go ahead and get out there and get you a job, you see what I'm saying? Instead of you, and you go through this whole joint, all you got to do, what's that movie that Denzel Washington played, that grumpy old man?
Defense.
Defense. Bro, that dude was hard as nails. I ain't say you got to love me, boy. What do you think I do this for? I'm like, damn,
but
bro.
You got to respect me.
Yeah. Oh, grumpy old man.
You got to respect me.
So, you take that, you bring them in the match shit, what they do.
That's that movie Viola Davis played his wife.
Yeah. Yo, and what you got in the match shit? You got them same old grumpy old heads that wear suspenders and a Jeff hat. Grumpy as hell. So your brother's sitting around all day in the match shit doing liquor. They ain't gonna pay your bills. You're like, damn, son. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, it's the same thing. We gotta drop all of that. If you don't see Habibullah al-Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the character you have to strive to have, men and women, then you are not going to change anything, and you're going to have the chaos that you got. That's just bottom line. So it's the deen. You got the deen. We don't look at brotherhood as divine. We look at it as a privilege. It's a privilege I'm even talking to you. No, brotherhood is divine. It's a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a command from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tell you how to make brotherhood. How many people cook for each other? How many people give gifts? How many people even get a salams? So if you're having a hard relationship with friendship, you have a hard relationship with marriage. Some people are complicated. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. Some people are married. Some people are married to, like, with men, this is a sensitive issue. If you're constantly criticizing your husband, he's going to shut down on you. He's going to turn into a turtle. He's going to put his head right back in the shell. He's going to shut down on you. You constantly criticize him. No matter all his decisions he make, it's just always, it's just a bad idea. So he shuts down, stop talking to you. These type of things, they play part. These are real, but sometimes we do them so much we don't see it. So these are things that hinder, that hinder growth. It hinders the relationship. So how you are at home is how you're gonna be in public. As long as you keep it under a 3-minute visit, you won't expose yourself. So you got anything else to add, Saleh? If not, Muhammad, you can take us out of here. But wait. Make sure you subscribe and share. Give me a like, a heart, something, because it helps the algorithm, right? Tell a friend to tell a friend. You can share this with non-Muslims because, honestly, non-Muslims be wanting to hear the guidance and they need their guidance too. Share it. Alhamdulillah. So now these dudes disappear when we got to great close out.
I'm here.
Let's go. We out, bro.
Abu Muhammad.
All right, man. He went to the bathroom or something, man. You gonna give us a
No, I do not. Go ahead.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك واشهد ان لا اله الا انت واستغفرك واتوب اليك والعصر ان الانسان لفي خسر الا الذين امنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما اغلق وخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق بالهادي الى صراطك المستقيم وعلى اله وحقه قدر المقداره العظيم السلام عليكم ورحمه الله تعالى وبركاته.
عليك السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Good night, everyone.